Go Jackets.
What's going on, everyone, and welcome to WreckTalk. Now, by the time you're watching this video, I will be in enemy territory. I'll be at the Slob softball game representing the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets in Athens, Georgia this year. So wish me luck, going into enemy lines. Today I want to talk about Louisville. So everyone seems to be high on Louisville. This is like the undisputed, in most people's minds, dark horse to win the ACC this year. I mean, there's people that really think Louisville's going to win 10 games this year. Like, that is not the most bizarre opinion given like current sentiment. In fact, they have the fourth best odds to win the ACC this year. And I wanted to make a video because I tell you what this feels like to me, okay? And if you're a Louisville fan watching this, just bear with me till the end. You can trash my Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets in the comments. This is totally fine. This smells and feels a lot like Miami last year. You know, Miami ranked 15th preseason, really based solely on they have a new coach, right, in Mario Cristobal. And to me, and again, I'm not a Louisville guy. I haven't watched a ton of Louisville football. I'm not as knowledgeable about Louisville football as someone who is a fan or media member. But it seems very similar with Louisville. You bring in Jeff Brom, really good coach. I don't think there's anyone who's going to dispute that. But what other than bringing in Jeff Brom makes you think you're going to have this 8, 9, 10 win season? So the over-under on Louisville is 8 wins. So if you want to make money if you want to take Vegas's money, you've got to win 9 games. And I'm not saying that that's not possible. It's not something I'd put my money on, though. Now, Louisville does have, a schedule kind of set up that. I mean, I'm looking, you open up with us, Murray State, Indiana, Boston College, NC State, Notre Dame, Pitt, Duke, Virginia Tech, Virginia, Miami, Kentucky. But here's the thing, like, you have a stretch where you go on the road at NC State. That's a tough game. Notre Dame, at Pitt, Duke. Don't sleep on Duke. We're going to see next season they open up with Clemson. Duke won 9 games last year. They're a tough out. Virginia Tech, they're down. Virginia down, but at Miami, are you going to win? I guess this comes down to, do you think Louisville is going to win every game that they quote-unquote should be favored in plus 1 or 2, right? I don't think so. So let's look first. You bring in Jeff Brom. You replace Satterfield. And this is very similar. Obviously, I'm a Tech guy. To me, it's not exactly the same, but it's kind of like Brent Key, where only in that he's a Louisville guy, right? Like, Georgia Tech brings in Brent Key. He's a Tech guy, played at Tech, had a lot of success at Tech. Jeff Brom played at Louisville, had injury issues when he played at Louisville, but had a successful career, goes undrafted. Sorry, excuse me. Plays for 7 years in the NFL, mostly in a backup role capacity. I think his last year he ended up playing in the XFL, like 2001. Now, before you blow me up in the comments, Louisville fans, he has been a head coach and a Power 5 head coach for several years. So I'm not comparing him to Brent Key in that. Brent Key's a first-year head coach. And, look, I know we open with you. If I had to grade, coaches in each position group, obviously you get the nod with head coach you have. But he is a first-year head coach. Not first-year head coach. This is his first year at Louisville. And almost always when you have a new coach, whether he has head coaching experience or not, whether he has Power 5, head coaching experience, you almost always see a team take a step back. So, you go 8-5 last year. Do you think you're going to do better than that with a new coach? So, point in case, Miami, Mario Cristobal, guy that had a lot of success at Oregon. A guy who, as much as I dog on Miami, and I do despise not only the team Miami Hurricanes, but the entire city. Really just all of South Florida I'm not a fan of, but that's beside the point. They take a step back, like they do not reach the heights with him in year one that they think that they don't even make a bowl, right? So I guess as a Louisville fan, you have to ask yourself, like, how are we different than Miami last year? Like, what makes us think we'll be different than that? And look, Jeff Brom is an offensive guy. He's a quarterback coach. He's a guy that got his start as a position coach under Bobby Petrino. Which, by the way, what are you doing, Louisville, hiring Bobby Petrino for the second time? Like, he leaves you high and dry in the middle of the night to go to the Falcons. Does the same with the Falcons. Rex, goes to Arkansas. He doesn't even talk to the Atlanta Falcons team, by the way. He doesn't address them. He leaves he tapes like a note to their lockers. By the time they're reading that, he's singing "Poo-Soo-wee" in Arkansas. I mean, I would like to see comments on that too. Do y'all hate Bobby Petrino, or do y'all kind of overlook that nonsense with him? I mean, I guess you did fire him. I had to pay him a lot of money, so I would be interested to know what your opinion of that guy is. But setting that aside, the dude is one of the premier offensive minds in college football. It's going to be interesting to see what Bobby Petrino does at Texas A&M. And this is who Jeff Brom, started his coaching tutelage under, thinking in an offensive set. So Jeff Brom not only is an offensive guy, he's a quarterback, centric expertise kind of guy, which has got to feel nice to have coming in. He's at several places, goes to Western Kentucky. He's 30-10 at Western Kentucky. He's there from 2014 to 2016. Really successful there. Now he's at Purdue from 2017 to 2020, right? Now his overall record's not super impressive, 36-34, but he's building something there. And his last two seasons, he goes 9-4 and 8-5. And here, I am a Jeff Brom fan in this. He was there when Purdue beat Ohio State. Ohio State was ranked second in the country. Purdue's not even ranked. Beat them 49-20. Blew out a national championship contender and probably favorite that year. And I can still remember to this day the look on I always do this where I blank on people's names. Ohio State's coach, Urban Meyer. I can still see Urban Meyer. That's when he probably decided, I'm going to feign a health issue. I didn't really lose it. I have an inoperable, life-threatening brain condition where I can never coach again, and if I do, I'm in grave danger. It makes me think of A Few Good Men. Are you in danger? Grave danger? Is there any other kind? That's kind of what Urban Meyer. Then he's at Jacksonville State, or not Jacksonville State, Jacksonville Jaguars. Anyways, thank you, Jeff Brom, for making Urban Meyer, the garbage bag human being he is, look like a complete fool, which he also is. But look, what he did at Purdue was fantastic. And also the quarterback, Jack Plummer, that y'all have brought in from Cal, played at Purdue under Jeff Brom. So, kudos for that. That's a big plus when you have a transfer quarterback. It's not often that he's already played for the coach that you have. So let's look at who you're replacing. Obviously replacing Malik Cunningham. That's huge. But you do bring in Jack Plummer from Cal. A better than average Power 5 starting quarterback, 6,500 yards in his career, 47 touchdowns to 19 interceptions. Cal had a good year last year. Already mentioned he was at Purdue already with your coach, Jeff Brom. You also have Evan Connolly and Brock Doman? So you do have good depth at quarterback in light of losing a good starter in Malik Cunningham. You also have a good 1-2 punch with Jordan and was it Garindo? So you're not hurting at running back necessarily. It seems like you're bringing back good number of starters on your offensive line. And also you have one of, if not the best transfer class in the country last year, which I wasn't aware of until I kind of started researching this. I think you lose 26 or 25 and you bring in about 26 or 25, and you do bring in, some quality, not just some, a good number of quality players. Just to name a few, you get Marcus Washington from UGA, who was, like a top 15 cornerback in his class. Same with Storm Duck from UNC, a major contributor for their defense. Now, I don't know how much you want a player from UNC's defense because they were one of the worst defenses in the country last year. I mean, my Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets broke that team last year. UNC is the biggest joke in college football, and I despise them. But I do think Storm Duck is a good player. He's another guy that was like top 15 cornerback in his class. So we'll talk about the defense in a second, but the thing on offense is I'm looking at last year. It looks like that was where you need to make improvement as a team, right? I'm sure that's why you bring in Jeff Brom. They're ranked like 49th, 50th in the country offensively. And the question on, is this hype for Louisville warranted? It really comes down to, do you feel like you're going to make major strides forward offensively? At least enough to counteract kind of this first-year lull with a head coach. I mean, look, even Kirby Smart, who's, as much as I hate to admit it, and I despise Georgia as well, because they're our rival, he's the best coach in college football right now. I mean, there's no argument I could make against that. Started 6-6, 7-5 his first year at the University of Georgia, and that's a guy who I don't know if a coach other than like Coker at Miami has ever inherited a better situation than he did at the University of Georgia. I mean, talent was never an issue at the University of Georgia. They were perennially top 10, top 5 recruiting classes. Most of the players that he went to his first national title appearance with UGA were players Mark Richt recruited. So if a guy that inherits that kind of situation that's just primed for success takes a step back with that team in his first year, again, you got to start thinking, what makes us think, what do we have that's going to counteract these kind of things? So you replace almost all of your skill position on offense. So again, you do bring in a good quarterback. You bring in 2 quarterbacks out of the portal, actually with Plummer and I think the backup quarterback you have. So you have depth there. Big question mark is wide receiver and tight end. So you only have one wide receiver that's returning that with experience or that started at wide receiver. I don't have his name written down, but you do bring in 4 from the portal, and you do have 3 in this class. I don't think you signed any 4-star wide receivers. But Amari Huggins-Bruce. So he's your lone returner. And the guys that you do have a really good, fantastic portal class. I'm just looking through it who you bring in at wide receiver, and it doesn't make me think you're going to take a huge step forward at that position. I mean, you have Kevin Coleman from Jacksonville State, Jamari Thrash from not Gainesville State. What am I saying? Gainesville State is a school that doesn't even exist anymore and never had a football program. Georgia State. So I just don't see, a ton of eye-popping production at wide receiver for Louisville. So it doesn't really matter if you have the greatest quarterback ever at on your team. If you don't have wide receivers that are going to be able to do something with it, get open, whatever, it's not clear to me that you take, a big step up offensively. And, at tight end, the same kind of situation where not a ton of experience and there might be some depth issues there. Though the nice thing is it does seem like your offensive line group is together, and you have a lot of experience there. Now, defensively, very impressive, top 25 defense in the country last year, but you lose a lot off of that defense, particularly on the defensive front. So you lose Yaya Diaby, Caleb Banks, and both linebackers, or two linebackers, Yasar Abdullah and Monty Montgomery. So like I said, of your 7-man front, and I'm not sure what defensive front you run, but your linebacker and your defensive front, you lose a lot. And again, I'm not really seeing where you're bringing in a lot that's going to counteract that. Now, you do bring in 4-star, I can't even read my own writing here, the Green kid, probably one of the best rated recruits in your class last year that was ranked 31st. But he's young, right? This is going to be his first time in big-time college football. Can you expect for him to have the same production as Yaya? No, I don't think you can. So I would think you have to take somewhat of a step back there. You bring in Stephen Herron from Stanford. I think he had like 5.5 sacks, something like this last year. Again, not necessarily huge names you're bringing in here. And I know it sounds like I'm dogging your program. I'm not. Is Louisville in a better position right now than like Tech? Yeah. Probably. You have to be with your coach and just with the overall talent you have on your roster here. You're probably better, but people aren't expecting, Georgia Tech to be even a bowl team this year, which I think is kind of crazy. In my opinion, the over-under on Louisville would be far more reasonable at like 6.5 at like 6.5 or 7, something like this. Just because you're bringing in a new coach, a lot of the talent you're bringing in defensively from your portal class are in the secondary, which is not where you lost much. So you're kind of stacking positions that you're already you don't have depth issues at. So no matter how good your secondary is, and look, Marcus Washington and Storm Duck are huge gets for Louisville. They're top players in that last year's portal class. But no matter how good you are as a defensive back, if you're not able to get pressure on the quarterback, he's going to find the open guy. So that's a question for me is how effective are you going to be getting pressure on the quarterback next year? So at linebacker, you do have 2 players who have game experience in T.J. Quinn, Jackson Hamilton, but it'll be their first time, in a starting role at Louisville. So I guess, well, first of all, let me get this out of the way. If I was a betting man, and I'm not, I'm taking the under on Louisville all day. And I would be interested to see what Louisville fans think, and people that aren't Tech fans are like, what would you take the over? And do you think Louisville's going to win 9 games this year? I mean, that's really what it comes down to. I don't. I don't, because that would mean not only with the first year with a coach in his first year at Louisville, are they not going to take a step back? They're going to take a step up. I just don't see it. I don't see it. Now, a little bit of a preview. I'm not going to give a prediction. That'll come later in August. You open up with Georgia Tech at the Benz, so you're going to be on the road. Again, I'm not going to say who's going to win, but Tech being an 8-point underdog, I don't really get either. Are you in a little bit better position? Yes, but is it 2 scores different? No. I don't know who's going to win that game. That's the one game on our schedule that I'm probably the most like. Now, it is the most important game, I think, on our schedule. This is Labor Day weekend. We'll be the only, game on TV at that time. I think that line should be more like 3.5, though. That would make a lot more sense to me. And there was a Sports Illustrated article that had Louisville beating us like 46-20 or something, like blowing us out. That I think is insane too. I don't see, because we're both going to be installing new offenses and replacing a lot on offense. So it's that game, most likely that season opener with us, is going to come down to whose defense plays better. And, Tech is replacing a lot on defense as well. So it'll be interesting to see what defense comes up to speed first and which offense is able to effectively run their new scheme better in week 1. So, again, let me know what you think. Do you think Louisville's going to win 9 games? Do you think the hype around Louisville is justified for this season or not? Let me know in the comments section. Before we go, if you want to become a member of the channel, there's a join button right under the description of the video. If you want to see more videos like this, I'm going to try and branch out more to other teams. There's a PayPal link and a CashApp link in the description. We have merchandise. There's a link for that in the description as well. And I'll see you guys Sunday for the live show. And if you're a Louisville fan and you think that I'm completely off base, call into the live show. It's Sunday on this channel, 8 p.m. I'd love to hear what you have to say, and y'all have a good one.